the DXY completely dumping as expected, pumping the entire stock market in the process. Crypto Moon Boys are not seeing any of the pumpage because Sam Butthead-Fried absolutely fiddled and diddled the crypto markets to dust. But just how deeply diddled are the Moon Boys? And the biggest question of them all, is the diddling done or just getting started? In what will be soon known as today, the day we all got diddled, this is huge for the crypto space, as every 24 hours of this last week seems to be more chaotic, more damaging than ever. But the thing is, something much bigger is happening behind the curtains right now. So get the chip, make sure to turn this goes notification service is absolutely time-sensitive alerts. And without any further magoo, we don't have any choice but to get dumped on. So if we jump into this video, so far, this looks really good for the stock market. It's actually right now breaking, as we talked about yesterday, we were below this. Now we're breaking back above the 10-day moving average on this 10-day chart. This is very big. This is good for the stock market. And historically, this is good for Bitcoin. We have one reason, I'm not going to spend any time talking about it, other than the fact to say, we have one reason we're getting pulled down, and it's because Sam Butthead-Fried, the Bahama boy himself, also, he played League of Legends. Are you kidding me? That's literally the worst game of all time. Is bringing down the entire market. The contagion is what's really the big deal here. So first of all, I think it's important to just highlight this. Today, FTX probably having liabilities over even like 10 billion. We've seen so much news come out, and you can see there's a timeline here. Like there's like 5, 6, 7 different big news events per day, basically. And really, I'm not going to go over this, but to sum it up, there is a lot of people, besides just retail, there's a lot of big former exchanges or businesses that are tied up with FTX. And that is why this contagion is so much bigger than something like Celsius. I think the latest victim was BlockFi, which only came out hours and hours ago, that they also were pretty much fiddled by this, fiddled and diddled. But a huge thing we're seeing now too is that for the first time in history, the 200-day moving average for Bitcoin is now below the 200-week. This is gigantic. You see it here. The 200-day moving average right here is now below the 200-week moving average. And this is the first time in history that that's happened, and basically all that's indicating is this is like really, really dumpy. It's new. We haven't really seen this low comparatively, historically, for this long, for this crazily. Usually the moves we see in the market have already indicated bottoms, but so far this downward pressure is truly mesmerizingly big. It's just very apparent that there's a lot of downside pressure. The biggest thing about this, though, is that we're seeing crypto exchanges collapse like dominoes. It's huge. If we take a look, though, again, as we've been talking about, this is awesome to see. We're seeing the DXY collapse just as we talked about. The DXY right now is down roughly about 7.5% in the last month. That's very big for the DXY. A 7% move for Bitcoin is nothing. A 7% move for the DXY is like a 50, 60% move or something for Bitcoin. So it's very big, very significant. And it is right now kind of just going down, retesting some of these key levels that we've built over the past year and a half. It's a very long time that the DXY has been pumping. This is the very first dump, real dump the DXY has seen in like 2 years. Okay, so again, the thing that makes me kind of, well, the thing that's horrible about this, if you're invested in crypto, is that Sam, FTX, all of that could not have come at a worse time. We got a good CPI print for the first time the entire year. And that led to the stock market pumping, as you can see. And it led to the DXY to dump, as you just saw. And that has been the biggest correlation we've seen so far, the most consistent one. If the stock market goes up and the DXY goes down, Bitcoin goes up. That's been like the most reliable thing for the past year plus. If you want to look at which way Bitcoin's going, if the stocks are going up, DXY is going down, Bitcoin is going up like over 90, 95% of the time. Today is that 5% of the time where it doesn't because of FTX. And so it's a very, very unfortunate timing, right? The timing could not be any worse, okay? It literally could not be any worse. But it's, again, worse also because it's not just FTX. It just truly blows my mind how negligent, how unprepared, how willy-nilly and like badly managed everyone at FTX, or at least Sam and the people that had full transparency of FTX, it could not have been handled worse. They literally were even lying as of yesterday when they were saying about FTX US and everything. Now that also has halted withdrawals. Like, it's just completely mind-blowing how much damage and how poorly run FTX was, and the effects that are coming after that. Because a lot of people, again, I've never promoted FTX. I don't like FTX. I never used it. I literally have never even typed in ftx.com. I've never even been to the site. However, as I've said, and as everyone knows, it was a widely regarded exchange. It was considered like the top exchange. It was considered where it was competing with Binance, Coinbase, and that was it. Like, it was just the top boys, and that was it. So it's insane how something regarded as the very highest gets completely pulled down, and it turns out that they were actually worse than any exchange, period. It turns out they were worse than every exchange, the worst of them all, which is just, it's very hard to wrap your head around. And if we look at the price action of Bitcoin, though, we are getting more and more news pretty much hour after hour that like things like BlockFi and everyone else is connected and this and that, more and more negative news for the space. So far, the price is kind of just still sitting around these levels, which, again, it's showing how resilient at least some of these levels are. Bitcoin, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. The fact Bitcoin is not at $10,000 right now, when basically the worst thing that could have happened in crypto has happened, then again, that's showing some resilience. I think literally this is the worst thing that's ever happened to crypto, even worse than Mt. Gox. And the only thing that would be worse than this is USDT and Tether collapsing or something. I think that's like the only thing that could be worse in the space. I'm going to knock on wood because, I mean, at this point, who knows, right? It could get worse. Let's be honest, it could get worse. But the fact that we're still holding at 16, 17, it's pretty remarkable in my opinion. And on Bitcoin's weekly chart, the fact, I mean, technically we're still holding this structure, which is, again, mind-blowing. I think we should, I'm honestly just shocked the price hasn't gone lower. I do think the fact that the stock market's doing really well and the dollar's doing very poorly is good, and it's helping maybe, or it should be. But realistically, if the contagion stops, because we've seen already effects of contagion, if it does stop anytime soon or within the next few days and things cool off a little bit and the stock market keeps doing well and the DXY keeps doing bad, Bitcoin will eventually keep up. But the one negative thing that can come out of this is the regulation, which there are a lot of theories circulating right now that this was all engineered from the beginning. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to Twitter. It's all over Twitter. It's everywhere. A lot of ties and connections with FTX and the government that are very interesting, to say the least. A lot of familial connections, a lot of nepotism related family stuff. It's very interesting. And again, these are all just rumors and theories. I mean, the connections aren't rumors, they're facts, because certain people have certain parents that are connected with certain people, say, for example, MIT and stuff like that. I think a lot more information is going to be coming out over the next few weeks. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of light shed on exactly. I think this story goes a lot deeper than simply FTX being bad with money management. I think there's a lot more to it than that. These are just absolute time-sensitive alerts. Without any further ado, that's it for me.